You ready? Call to order, City of Coos Bay Planning Commission meeting April 13th. Are we having a roll call for attendance?
We are.
Okay,
Chairperson Aguirre.
here.
Commissioner Byrd.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
W. Davis.
Commissioner
Oh,
Kissinger. Commissioner Marino.
here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Okay. I think we have to adopt some minutes first. Did everyone look at those minutes? I think we just need a motion to adopt those minutes.
Well, I read them and couldn't find anything to add or take away, so I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the minutes from last month.
Second the motion. This is Jeff.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and then there's a public comment section, or? No?
I think we're fine.
Okay. All right, then we'll start the public hearing. Item A, architectural design review application for Real Deals.
Alrighty, I will read the hearing disclosure statement for this item. The review criteria for the Waterfront Heritage District is found at Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 17.240, which was included in the staff report and notice. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which the person believes is applicable to the criteria, or to the decision, sorry. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient details to afford the decision makers and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal on that issue. The applicants, the owners of 790, or leasers of 790 North Shore Drive, is requesting approval for wall-mounted signs for the new business Real Deals, which is retail sales. They propose to put wall-mounted signage that is white with black lettering on the north, south, and west elevation walls. They also are proposing window signage in the windows on the west and south elevations, also with a white background and black letters, and velour petals designs to accentuate that. Window signage would identify products and hours of operations, quotes, that sort of stuff. They also are proposing 2 attraction flags located in the North Bay Shore right-of-way, but that is not part of this review because it is in the right-of-way and not on the property. The design criteria, the goals and standards of that district indicate that the sign should emulate signage that existed in that historic period and be consistent with the storefront, the building on which it's situated, and the area as a whole. Review for consistency includes, but is not limited to, evaluation of size, shape, position, material, illumination in relation to the facade, and the abutting and adjacent structures. Signage on a business front are limited to a building sign on each building face identifying the building name, a sign for each business entry symmetrically placed on the building, not obscuring or removing detail of the building, and must be part of the building and not treated as an unrelated addition, and the related style and character of the building and general area.
Thank you.
In your packet, you received the proposed window and wall-mounted signs. I can answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any proponent testimony?
Right.
Right.
Say I'm just here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay.
My name is Rick Stevens. I'm the me and my wife are opening the business, so.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions for them?
So, is it just the building that you're using? What about the parking area to the south?
The parking area to the south, he's still gonna rent, Steve, the owner of the building, is still gonna have his U-Haul business that'll have some parking there. We'll have all the parking that's up against the building on the four sides, or on three sides of the building. So
Just kind of,
yeah, a portion of that.
Yeah, my hopes was we could kind of clean that up too, but if it's not part of the
You know,
project.
cleaning up that area has been, me and Steve have been working on doing that. Because, you know, him and I don't necessarily see eye to eye on the way he has some of
Sure.
his storage stuff, but hopefully that's a work in progress, and hopefully we'll get through some of that.
Any other questions? It's hard to know if anyone has any. So I'm assuming there's no opponent testimony. Not really a discussion here either. Probably just the motion. Does anyone have a motion for me?
Sure. Yeah, I think it'd be a nice addition. So I would like to make a motion that we accept project number 187-21-00018PLNG, and we approve this.
I'll second that. That was Jim.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, there is a 15-day appeal period once the decision is put in writing, which will be tomorrow. So give me a call and we'll work out the final details. Okay, thank you.
Excited to see that. So item B on our list is architectural design review application signage for the AT&T store in Coos Bay Village.
I will again read the hearing disclosure statement. The review criteria for the Waterfront Heritage District is found at Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 17.240, which was included in the staff reported notice. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which the person believes is applicable to the decision. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient detail to afford the decision makers and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal on that issue.
Just a sec.
The applicant for 1290 North Bayshore Drive is requesting approval for signage in the Waterfront
This is frozen.
Heritage.
That's not a good sign.
What's that?
Jeff, are you talking to me?
So I'm going to hang up and try and rejoin.
Okay,
I can't hear anything.
we can hear you. Anyway, the applicant is proposing signage for AT&T, which is non-illuminated wall-mounted signage with external gooseneck lighting on the north elevation and the west elevation. They are proposing an internal halo-lit wall-mounted sign
Okay.
on the east elevation and
Shut it
signage
down.
on the main glass
You join.
entrance door. What has occurred for approvals in the past is consistent with this request. One halo-lit sign per business has been permitted, just so they have something aside from the gooseneck lighting. The same provisions apply as the previous application regarding the sign emulating the historic period and consistent with the character of the storefront on the building in which it's situated and the area as a whole. Review for consistency includes but not limited to the evaluation of the size, shape, position, material, illumination in relation to the facade and abutting and adjacent structures. Signage on the business front are limited to building signs on each frontage, identifying the building name, a sign on each business entry, and internal painted street window signs. Signage shall be appropriate in size and design, be suited symmetrically on the building, and not obscure detailing on the building, and not treated as a separate element. The proposed signage was included in the applicant's packet, and I will answer any questions you have.
Okay. Proponent testimony? Did the applicant want to say anything? No?
It looks like there's some difficulty with the audio, so just if you could give me a second.
Oh, sure.
I apologize.
No worries.
Hello?
Let's try that again.
Can you hear us okay now?
I can hear you, but this is Carolyn, but Jim dropped off and they think they're trying to get back in because everything froze up. So I don't know if he's in the meeting or not.
We're back.
Okay,
Oh, you are?
great.
Okay, great.
Okay. Did the applicant want to say anything additional after the staff report? No? Okay. Can I get a motion?
I guess I'd like to make a motion that we approve project 187-21-00025 PLNG with the conditions on 11. The applicant must secure required structural permits, and compliance with the land use approval must be verified. That would be my motion.
Can I get a second?
You may have to speak up,
I'll second it. This is Josh.
Josh.
Perfect. All in favor? Aye.
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 Do I have to say all opposed each time too?
There is a 15-day appeal period from the date the decision's put in writing, which I anticipate being tomorrow.
Alrighty. All right, moving on to item C, the architectural design review application signage for the Coos Bay Village PUD as a whole.
I will read the hearing disclosure statement. The review criteria for the Waterfront Heritage District is found at Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 17.240, which was included in the staff report and notice. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan and land use regulation which a person believes is applicable to the decision. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient detail to afford the decision makers and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal on that issue. The applicant, which is the owners of Coos Bay Village, and represented by Carmen Matthews, is proposing a master sign plan. As I stated previously, what has consistently come to us is a sign on each elevation that is wall-mounted with exterior gooseneck lighting or one halo-lit sign on one of those elevations. They can have a combination of those, but only one internally, it's not internally, backlit sign has been approved for the past 3 or 4 applications that have come before us. And so what they would like to help expedite the process for their tenants is to have a master plan approved and that if the applicants follow these guidelines that were approved in the master plan, that it could be reviewed by staff administratively with input from the design assistance team who provides input on everything in that district. This would cut down the review time significantly. It would also still leave open the Planning Commission's review on any signage that's not included in the master plan. That would include anybody that wanted to submit roof-mounted or freestanding signs or something that goes against the goals and standards that are outlined in this district. And so what they would be proposing is, in the background section of the application, design for signs that emulate signage that existed during the period and be consistent with the character of the storefront on the building in which it's situated and the area as a whole. Review for consistency included but not limited to the evaluation of size, shape, position, material, illumination in relationship to the facade and abutting adjacent structures. That would be the goal that any applicant would have to meet. And then the standards that would apply to the master sign plan would be signs on a business front are limited to the building sign on each building face, identifying the building name, a sign for each business entry, whether it's vehicular or pedestrian, and internal painted signage on window fronts. That painted would also mean the vinyl letters that are more common than painting these days. Signage shall have a minimum clearance of 8 feet above a pedestrian walkway or 15 feet above a public street or alley. That would be if it projects away from the building. Projecting signs shall not project more than 8 feet beyond the property line, but that is not going to be an issue in this development. Signage shall be of an appropriate size and design, be sited symmetrically on the building, not obscure or remove detailing on the building, and be designed as part of the building and not treated as an unrelated addition, and be related in style and character of the building and general area. And allowed signage would include wall-mounted signs, projecting or hanging signs, awning signs, marquee signs, interior painted window signs, and miscellaneous signs, which are already indicated in the ordinance that those would be considered upon review of the design assistance team. So as part of the project as a whole, each property would be allowed a projecting or wall-mounted sign, non-illuminated with external gooseneck lighting or ground-mounted lighting, one halo-lit sign, no raceway, which means it's all one long sign. They have to be individual letters on one frontage, non-illuminated internal window signs that are similar in design to the wall-mounted sign, and compliance with Chapter 17.330 signs, which regulates the total square footage of signage that a business is allowed to have. But in this particular case, wall-mounted signs in general do not count against your allowed signage. So unless someone proposed a projecting sign or something that's not in this master plan, that particular regulation wouldn't apply. And then, if approved, each future sign application for the city of Coos Bay would be subject to the following. The applicant must secure the required structural permit prior to beginning work, and then compliance with the master sign plan must be verified prior to final inspection of that permit.
Perfect. Did the applicant want to add anything? I think so.
No, I think that was a good summary.
Perfect.
Thank you for considering it.
Yeah. Any discussion?
So this is the entire project, the entire property would follow this sign code?
Yes, it
Setting
would
a
be for
standard.
the entire PUD for Coos Bay Village, which is all of the lots within the PUD.
Okay.
It would apply to each business or business building owner.
Okay. Well, I think that makes a lot of sense and make it consistent.
Absolutely.
And then we wouldn't
Right.
be doing the two we just did.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
it seems like we keep bringing you the same
Yeah.
application over and over again. It's just with a different business. So we thought this would help expedite it for everyone.
Excellent.
Perfect.
This is Jim Berg. I'd just like to say that it seems to me that it makes perfect sense in economy to have these kinds of rules work for the whole development. Because the development as a whole creates an image. It's that image that the signs then continue to endorse. So, from my perspective, it makes perfect sense to do this. And I think that this is a good model for how we should move forward these kinds of projects in the future.
I agree. Can I get a motion for the master sign plan?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the master sign plan, appropriate to all these numbers and letters and everything you guys assigned to us. Subject to conditions, of course, that the city has adopted. That's my motion.
Second, this is Jeff.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Are we going to include all the final recommendations?
Yes.
Number 10? Okay.
So Jeff seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Alrighty, item D, conditional use application for 864 South Fish Street, change of use.
I will read the hearing disclosure statement. The review criteria for conditional use is found at Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 17.340, which was included in the staff report and notice. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which a person believes is applicable to the decision. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient detail to afford the decision makers and parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal on the issue. The applicant and owner of 864 South Fifth Street is requesting approval to change the use of the existing structure, which contains 6 one-bedroom apartment units, to tourist habitation vacation rental. No changes are proposed to the interior or exterior unless required by building codes to meet fire and life safety standards. The applicant intends to limit occupancy of each unit to no more than 4 individuals and 1 vehicle at any given time. The subject property is located in the low-density residential zone, and the conditional use is required because the structure as a whole exceeds 4,000 square feet. As part of the conditional use review, the Planning Commission shall review and approve with conditions an application for conditional use, which it finds the applicant has sustained the burden of proof that the proposed use complies with the applicable requirements of the zone, except as otherwise approved by a variance or other means consistent with this title, and there are no variances being requested. The site, size, dimension, location, topography, access, characteristics of the site are suitable to accommodate the proposed use, and necessary mitigation of potential adverse impacts considering the size, shape, location, topography, or natural features. All required public facilities, which include water, sanitary, sewer, waste drains, drainage, and roads, have adequate capacity and design to serve the proposed use, either as they exist or as may be modified by conditions of approval, and there are no changes being proposed to any utilities. and the use has not been determined to be intensified. Any impacts related to building massing, parking, access, traffic, noise, vibration, exhaust or emissions, light, glare, erosion, odor, dust, fire, heat or fire hazards, heat, visibility, and safety are no greater than any other permitted use in the zone, or can be mitigated by imposing reasonable conditions of approval which specifically address the potential impact and are intended to reduce the impact to levels consistent with others located in the district. We did receive one letter of concern from Douglas Jones at 886 South 5th, which is 2 houses south. He expressed concern about existing off-street parking, driveways being continually blocked, and uses of the driveway on the south side of the property that appeared to belong to the property to the south of the subject property. The overlay provided by the city was not clear because it's not a survey. We as staff could not determine which property that was on. So we asked the applicant to do some research prior to this hearing to figure that out. And so we received a letter from Clinton Stubbs from Northwest Surveying indicating that he had reviewed the documents related to the common driveway and determined that in his professional opinion, the driveway is a shared access way between the two tax lots, 95 and 9600. The owners of the two properties should be bound by the conditions contained in the easement document, which was provided in your packet, along with a drawing of that area. Neither party shall limit or obstruct the use of the easement by the adjoining property. They indicated that it's intended to be an immediate loading and unloading area, not a parking spot for anyone. Then on April 13th, which was today, the city received an email indicating that Douglas Jones approved of the applicant's proposal, which indicated they would add to the lease agreement that any tenant must utilize the provided off-street parking area and that blocking or parking in any driveway on South Fifth Street is prohibited. The applicant also indicates that signage could be added along the shared driveway indicating the driveway is a no parking area and violators will be towed at the owner's expense. And as a property owner, anyone can do that on their property. So based on all of that and in conjunction with the A through D approval criteria, staff proposed a condition. We first of all would like to eliminate the condition that says within 90 days of the date of the final order, the applicant must determine by means acceptable to the city the location of the South Fifth property line to determine where that driveway is located. We believe for these purposes that has been adequately addressed, so we'd like that removed and leave the remaining condition that all vehicles associated with the proposed use must utilize the provided off-street parking area, and at no time shall driveways on South Fifth Street be used or blocked by any vehicles associated with the subject property. And I do want to note that with an apartment building, the off-street parking requirement is 1.5 vehicles per unit. With a vacation rental, these are one bedrooms, so one off-street parking is required, so they are actually reducing the general demand for parking. They're also in the Marshville Parking District, which further regulates on-street parking, and they're limited. How many parking spaces they get on the street is limited by the number of linear foot of frontage they have. So we're hoping this might actually help the parking. Now, having approval for a vacation rental use does not mean they can't use it for long-term rentals. It just gives them the option to use it for a vacation rental, any of the 6 units if they so choose. And just for consistency with Coos Bay Municipal Code, Chapter 17.130.150, any Type 3 application approval can be revoked if it's determined that they're not complying with what their approval was as outlined. And that information will be provided to the applicant. And it will be included in the final order. So the revised recommendations, we propose to keep conditions 1 through 3, which requires compliance with the transient tax ordinance and compliance with the building license regulations, and also the requirement to keep or to apply for a change of use structural permit, so that a fire and life safety review can be done by our building official. Again, we'd like to eliminate the condition that outlines that within 90 days of the final order, the driveway issue be addressed. And then renumber, all vehicles associated with the proposed use must utilize the provided off-street parking area, and at no time shall any driveway on South Fifth Street be used or blocked by vehicles associated with the subject property. And the final condition be that compliance with the land use approval be verified prior to finaling the structural permit.
Did the applicant have any comment?
Hi, can you guys hear me? My name is Trisha Clark and I represent the applicant, Jason Rucker, and I just wanted to briefly thank Debbie for all her hard work. She's been really responsive and wonderful to help us understand what was needed, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Perfect. Were there any questions from the Planning Commission?
Yeah, so are you converting 6 current apartments to 4 vacation rental units?
So actually all 6 would be available for vacation rental. So yeah, all 6 would be converted.
All those units were previously vacation rentals, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not changing anything that it hasn't already been.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I think those units have already been vacation rentals in the past.
Well, evidently, the previous owner was using them as vacation rentals, but they did not go through the process to have it legally established, so the new owners are doing that.
Yeah, which is perfect to add more parking because that area has very limited parking, and I remember that about that building.
Yeah, and they upgraded and improved the parking area in the back.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's nice and clean.
Well, I have a question. Is there sufficient parking in the back to alleviate this problem for the other property owners on the street?
Based on the parking demand for the vacation rentals, they have adequate off-street parking in the provided parking area.
Okay. Okay, I'm a tourist coming to Coos Bay, which of course I'm sure many tourists want to come. And I'm renting a place here to stay and have a lot of fun in Coos Bay. Why would I park in the back when I could park in front on the street more conveniently?
It's the applicant's responsibility to provide the off-street parking and encourage their tenants or their occupants to utilize it. Of course, they can't enforce it, and so what we're also adding in there is that anyone associated with that property cannot block driveways or utilize other people's driveways.
So that's the enforcement.
What's that?
That would be the enforcement then.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
And can I just add to that, we do have a local property manager, and Jason, who is the owner, is really responsive. He's a very hands-on and interactive owner. You might even notice if you went by there, he did all new sidewalks and put in landscaping, and he wants it to look nice and be inviting. So the plan about parking is that we're going to beef up the language in the tenant agreement, maybe make it sound not scary, but most people, anyone who's been towed knows that it's a $300 to $400 expense to get your car back when you can finally find it. So, the threat of immediate tow generally keeps people under under control. So at least that will keep any parking off of the driveway that's shared with Mr. Jones. And, you know, hopefully the people will also, I mean, the parking lot's pretty good in the back and there's plenty of room. So I would hope that, you know, just if you're coming to stay, it's more convenient to bring your bags in and such from that parking lot in the back where there's a little bit more room than from the street. So, you know, it's just going to be strongly encouraged to always park in the parking lot as opposed to parking in the street. So the residents have a place to park.
And there's adequate room in the back for anyone that comes there as a guest to park.
Yes.
Okay. And so it's just a matter of encouraging those people to do that. And of course, there's a lot of ways to do that. And then as a landlord, as a host, you guys can help that.
Correct.
Now, is this would this be just a condition as a vacation rental? Because you said they could also go to market rate under this zoning. So if it was to convert a unit or two to a long-term tenancy, would that still apply as far as the max occupancy and vehicle per tenant? Because if you were, say, a husband and wife to a year lease, would you could have 2 vehicles there or 3 or?
Right.
Yeah, it would be up to the applicant to control the off-street parking. But our condition does indicate that all vehicles associated with the proposed use must utilize the parking area.
Right, but
As it exists today, they're not intensifying the off-street parking requirement. So, and we can't assume, for example, that 4 will be vacation rentals and 2 will be transient uses. But for their proposal for transient uses, they're only required to have 1 off-street parking place. But even if all of them were long-term occupancy, they're not increasing the existing demand.
Okay.
Any further question? All right. Can I get a motion? I don't know.
Well, okay, I guess we've thrashed that one around enough. I'd like to make a motion that we accept project number 187-20-000016 PLNG with all the recommendations by staff and the conclusions. Or, yeah.
Can I get a second?
Second motion. This is Jeff.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Aye. All right, thank you.
There
Thank
again
you.
is a 15-day appeal period from the date the decision's put in writing, which we anticipate being tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
You
Thank
too.
you.
All right, administrative and future matters for discussion.
Carolyn, do you have anything for discussion?
I do. I wanted to share with the commission that next month, rather than having a commission meeting, there's going to be a workshop held through your commission venue by Zoom for the Front Street area. The council, one of their goals was to develop a plan for improvements along Front Street, and it's called the Front Street Blueprint. And the public will have an opportunity to learn a little more about that when you meet next month. So watch for a Zoom invitation, and that will be a workshop.
Perfect. I love Front Street. Commission comments? Nope. Nope. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Rex. Gosh, no one was participating.